Now your late evening BBC News with Clive, Myrie.
4 die in Japan after a powerful earthquake hits the main island. Tremors were felt hundreds of miles away. Thousands have fled their homes, spending the night in shelters. We'll be live in Japan with the very latest. Also tonight, police name a 16-year-old boy stabbed to death in North London. Harry Pitman was attacked on New Year's Eve. Controversial judicial reforms that sparked mass protests across Israel are struck down by the Supreme Court. Liverpool go clear at the top of the Premier League after a thrilling 4-2 win over Newcastle. And from this
for a semi-final spot.
To this, 16-year-old Luke Littler is one step closer to reaching the finals of the World Darts Championships. Good evening to you. Thousands of people have spent the night in emergency shelters in Japan after a powerful earthquake hit the west coast of the main island. 4 people have died, but many more are thought to be trapped beneath the rubble of collapsed buildings. The epicenter of the 7.6 magnitude quake was in the province of Noto, with tremors felt hundreds of miles away in the capital, Tokyo. Tens of thousands of people were told to head to higher ground. So Ranjana Tiwari has the very latest from Japan.
This footage from inside someone's home captures the moment the powerful earthquake struck. Some staff at this news network took cover, while others wanted to cover the story. The 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck just after 4 in the afternoon local time. It was caught on camera in this supermarket. There was chaos and confusion. Tsunami warnings were issued, then downgraded on the Ishikawa coastline. And people were told to head to higher ground.
I would like to ask all residents to continue to pay close attention to the occurrence of this strong earthquake. If you are in a region where a tsunami is expected, please evacuate as soon as possible.
More than 140 kilometres from the epicenter, this video was taken by English teacher Barney Davis.
It just kept going. It was really long. And like the fridge door was opening and shutting. Pictures were going all over the place. Everything fell off the shelves. It was pretty dramatic.
Barney and his family went to the local evacuation centre until he was told it was safe to return home. But then,
literally just as we're talking, my phone's given us an alert. There's been another little earthquake up north again. So the whole evening they've been aftershocks.
Despite the damage to roads and buildings, this earthquake is not as severe as 2011, when a magnitude 9 quake triggered a tsunami, leading to a nuclear meltdown at the Fukushima power plant. This time, all nuclear facilities are currently unaffected. But following the earthquake, a huge fire broke out in one of the affected areas, and thousands are now spending the night outside in below zero temperatures, fearful of going back into their homes as aftershocks continue to hit.
So Ranjana, it's a daybreak now where you are. What's the latest?
That's right, Clive. Authorities have now downgraded that major tsunami warning that was issued in Ishikawa Prefecture when the earthquake struck. Dozens of aftershocks did trigger waves of about 1 meter, which was felt across the west coast of Japan and as far as South Korea. What we know is that houses have been damaged, that some fires have started, and that army personnel have been deployed to try and help with the response. There are already reports that infrastructure has been damaged, and officials have warned that there may be more shocks, aftershocks and tremors in the coming days. Now, as you mentioned, almost 100,000 people spent the night in evacuation centres. Tens of thousands of homes don't have power. And even here where I am in the mountains neighboring Nagano prefecture, we felt the tremors, and also it's near freezing temperatures here. So it's a real problem if there are power cuts. Japan's vast transport network has also been affected by those power cuts. But Clive, because Japan is such a hotbed of seismic activity, the government has a pretty great and sophisticated warning system, a tsunami and earthquake warning system. We all got signals on our mobile phone ahead of the earthquake. And so people were able to go and get shelter. And as you said, daybreak now, so we'll know more about what the real damage is to buildings, roads, infrastructure, and how many people are trapped as well.
Okay, Suranjana, thank you. Suranjana Tiwani there, reporting live from Japan. Police have named a 16-year-old boy stabbed to death in North London last night. Harry Pitman died in the Primrose Hill area of Camden. Another 16-year-old has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Here's Sean Dilley.
Harry Pitman and his friends would have had a direct view of the London Eye and the capital's New Year's Eve celebrations. This was the scene on Primrose Hill in North London as emergency services tried to save Harry's life. Police were called 20 minutes before midnight, but before New Year arrived, he was pronounced dead. Freelance journalist James Tillotson was there.
We found a large cordon of police which had separated off to the very top level of the hill, and about 15 to 20 metres away within that circle, about 5 or 6 emergency services workers were conducting CPR on someone who was lying on the floor. It's an absolute tragedy that's occurred just at the start of the new year or just before. And there are huge numbers of young people there on the night. So I think it's quite alarming. Many of the people I was with found it quite upsetting.
Police say the investigation is moving at speed.
My colleagues have informed the family of the boy, who is from the Haringey area, and they will be provided with our support in the days and months ahead.
Today, this popular park is a crime scene. Families and dog walkers were turned away as forensic officers worked to preserve the scene. A 16-year-old boy who was arrested on suspicion of murder remains in custody at a North London police station. Detectives are asking anyone with any information and for anyone who saw or filmed anything to contact them. Sean Dilley, BBC News.
The Defence Secretary Grant Shapps says Britain is considering direct military action against the Houthi rebels in Yemen if they continue to attack commercial shipping in the Red Sea. The UK has already deployed a warship to protect against the militants who've declared their support for Hamas and have launched more than 100 drone and missile strikes against ships travelling to Israel. And there was a warning from Israel today over the war in Gaza. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the conflict, which has reduced much of the territory to rubble, could go on for months. But officials are pointing to a possible shift in tactics, with some forces being withdrawn, allowing for more targeted operations against Hamas. From Jerusalem, here's Shama Khalil.
The sound of gunfire and airstrikes, ushering in the new year for the people of Gaza, as they continue to flee further south, seeking the ever-shrinking spots of safety. For many families, it's an arduous and an all-too-familiar journey.
There's no safe place left in Gaza. We used to live in Gaza City, then we had to move to central Gaza and from there Khan Yunis. Right now we're outside Khan Yunis, but there's still no safe place.
In central Gaza, the intense bombardment shows no sign of easing. In this building in Deir el-Balah, people use their bare hands and whatever equipment they can find to pull out casualties from the rubble. This was meant to be one of the safer areas for people who needed to evacuate other parts of the center.
The UN has yet again warned of the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. It says teams on the ground are facing restrictions in different areas. Israel says it's not limiting aid. But with the continuing fighting across the Gaza Strip, delivering aid to those who need it the most has become a dangerous and a complex process.
Israel's war in Gaza has come at a very heavy price. These were the words of the Prime Minister a few days ago. As the number of soldiers killed in battle now nears 200. Israel's military says it's now withdrawing some combat troops and switching to more targeted operations, but the aim remains the same: to dismantle Hamas and bring back the hostages. And this war looks set to last well into the new year.
And Shaima, another important development in Israel this evening, with the Supreme Court striking down Benjamin Netanyahu's controversial judicial reforms, which triggered mass nationwide protests throughout much of last year.
That's right, Clive. This is a big blow to Benjamin Netanyahu and the hardline governing coalition in this showdown between the judiciary and the right-wing government. This is the Supreme Court taking their power back when it comes to checks and balances. Before the October the 7th deadly attack by Hamas on Israel, before the war in Gaza, Israel had experienced unprecedented division and turmoil internally because of these proposed judiciary reforms by the government, many calling it a threat to democracy, and also about there were many disagreements about the separation of powers. And at the heart of this was this bill that the government pushed through, this reasonableness bill, essentially stopping the Supreme Court from its ability to stop the government from making any decisions that were deemed unreasonable. Now the Supreme Court has overturned that, saying that we will keep you in check. This could not have come at a worse time for the Benjamin Netanyahu government, already under extreme pressure and anger from the hostage families who are saying that the government is failing to bring the hostages back. And now this government is staring down a constitutional breakdown and a constitutional crisis in the middle of this conflict.
Indeed. Okay, Shaima, thank you for that. Shaima Khalil there, live in Jerusalem. A woman accused of killing two of her children in America has appeared in court for extradition proceedings after being arrested in the UK. Kimberly Singler, who's 35, was detained on Saturday in central London. Police in America say her 9-year-old daughter and 7-year-old son were found dead at a house in Colorado last month. Her 11-year-old daughter was also injured. Now, the number of migrants crossing the Channel fell by more than a third in 2023 compared with the year before, but more than 29,000 people did make the journey. Migration is likely to be a key issue in the general election expected this year. Mark Easton has more details.
Well, with that general election looming, the government wants to start the new year with evidence that the Prime Minister's two big promises on immigration are being delivered. Promise number one, stop the boats. Well, no, they haven't stopped. But the Home Office claims its plan is working. The number known to have crossed the Channel in 2023 was down around a third from 2022. Still almost 30,000 individuals arrived on the Kent coast, second highest figure ever. But officials point to three key deals which they claim are helping turn the tide. A deal with France, improving security on the coast around Calais, a deal with Turkey to disrupt smugglers' supply chains, and a deal with Albania to return failed asylum seekers. Now, of course, the deal the government regards as the game changer is with Rwanda, but that plan was ruled unlawful. Now, almost everyone who arrived in small boats last year has claimed asylum, which brings us to the Prime Minister's second big promise on immigration, to clear the asylum backlog. Now, we have to wait till tomorrow for the official numbers, but we expect the Prime Minister to claim it's job done. Number 10 says the promise only relates to what it calls the legacy backlog, people stuck in the system for more than 18 months. Now, this is what the picture looked like 3 months ago. The legacy backlog, that's the blue bars, that's shrinking. But the backlog of new claims, the so-called flow cases, well, they are, as you can see, still numbering around 100,000 people. Now, there will be claims of creative accounting, with thousands of those legacy cases simply withdrawn and thousands more excluded as complex cases. Yes, an election is looming, and the arguments over promises kept or broken will only intensify.
Mark Easton, our home editor, reporting there. Now, with the day's sport, here's Jane Dougal at the BBC Sports Centre. Hi, Jane.
Good evening, Clive. The 16-year-old darts prodigy Luke Littler has become the youngest player to reach the semi-finals of the PDC World Championship. The teenager beat Northern Ireland's Brendan Dolan, which guarantees him £100,000 in prize money. Matt Graveling reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Littler! In 3 weeks, Luke Littler turned 17. In 3 days, he could be world champion.
Littler's been averaging hundreds pretty much every game. I think he's got a bit too much for Dolan.
He's a youngster, he's not scared of anything, he's going to go there, he's going to smash it out the park.
Still yet to be truly challenged in his debut at this tournament. Would this be any different? Today's quarter-final opponent was Northern Ireland's Brendan Dolan. Nicknamed the History Maker, Dolan faced a teenager making his own history.
Here he goes.
And the youngest player ever to win a match at this tournament soon took control of this one.
Takes the first set.
Control became domination. His 3-dart average rose to 121, and with it, he swept the second set.
2-0 to the teenager.
Dolan couldn't get into the match. The third and fourth set went to Littler.
Oh, Luke Littler.
And despite Dolan pulling one back, there was only ever one winner.
There is no sign of this teenage dream coming to an end.
Unbelievable. Obviously, I know I've got the ability to go all the way, but if it's not to be tomorrow night, then it's not to be. But whatever Luke Littler turns up, then it is what it is.
While Littler has burst onto the scene, his talents were honed from a young age. This footage posted by his mum on social media shows a young Luke the Nuke was throwing at just 18 months old. So the fairy tale continues, and for the lad from Warrington who celebrates every victory with his favourite fast food, he's now just 2 doner kebabs away from one of the biggest achievements the world of darts has ever seen. Matt Graveling, BBC News.
Liverpool are 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League after a thrilling 4-2 victory over Newcastle. All 6 goals were scored in the second half at Anfield, and there could have been more. Katie Gornall was watching.
December saw these two teams travel in different directions. While Liverpool became league leaders, Newcastle tumbled out of Europe and down the table off for the visitors. After the break, Mo Salah remained at the heart of everything for Liverpool. This his 150th Premier League goal for the club. It felt like another goal was coming. The only surprise was that it was Newcastle and Alexander Isak who claimed it. Newcastle haven't won in the league here for nearly 30 years, and that wait looks certain to continue as Liverpool clicked back into gear. 2-1 soon became 3-1. Cody Gakpo scored that, and although Newcastle pulled a goal back, Liverpool weren't done yet. A penalty brought Salah back to the spot. This is his last game before Liverpool lose him to the...
There was a rare victory for Ulster against Leinster in Dublin in the United Rugby Championship, winning by a single point. Ulster raced ahead, helped by 2 tries from Nick Timoney. Leinster fought back, but the visitors held on to win 22 points to 21. And that's the sport. Clive.
Jane, thank you. Now, time for a look at the weather. Chris is here. Hi there.
Hi Clive. Well, many people will be heading back to work tomorrow, and I think the weather could cause some problems. There might be some disruption around weather due to the heavy rain or the strong winds, as we'll see over the next minute and a bit. Here's the troublemaker out in the Atlantic, this bulge of cloud that's developing. It's a rapidly deepening area of low pressure that's going to be bringing some very strong winds and some heavy rain, particularly across England and Wales. Mind you, we've got a lot of rain around at the moment, pushing its way northwards and eastwards. There are near 70 flood warnings in force right now, and there's loads more rain on the way. Now, through the night, temperatures will be lifting, about 5 degrees in Scotland, very mild end to the night for southern parts of England and Wales, 11 or 12. But tomorrow, we've got another dollop of rain that's going to be working in, and some strong winds. Now, I think across parts of southwest England, southern Wales, the Bristol Channel, winds could gust to 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour, potentially strong enough to bring down a few tree branches, maybe 1 or 2 trees, hence the threat of disruptive weather. And as the rain becomes more extensive inland across England and Wales, the winds pick up as well. Very windy too for the Northern Isles. There'll be some gales here through the day. Now, through the evening time, the winds then start to really ramp up across eastern England, Lincolnshire, East Anglia, South East England, the Dover Straits. Again, some very strong gusts of wind. So all in all, whether it's due to the heavy rain, the risk of localised flooding or the strong winds, I think either way there could well be some disruption, particularly focused on England and Wales for tomorrow. By Wednesday, that low pressure's moving out into Europe. It's an unsettled day, a day of sunshine and showers. The showers heavy with some hail and thunder and blustery in the south. Lighter winds for Northern Ireland, mean the showers could last a bit longer here. And we'll have some quite heavy rain, I think, working into the northeast of Scotland, potentially cold enough for some of the rain to turn to sleet or snow in the Northern Isles. But then there are signs that the weather will settle down into the weekend. A prolonged spell of dry weather just around the corner. With that sunshine comes much lower temperatures and a return of some night frosts, Clive.
All right, get your scarves out. OK, Chris, thank you. Chris Fawkes there. That's it. There's plenty more on the BBC News website, but from me and the team, have a very good night and Happy New Year.